Right, so welcome to the Divine Constellation. I'm Jim, and we are Katharina and Antonio as well. These conversations that we're having are really about connecting with one person at a time. And the Divine Constellation itself, the idea is based on listening and sharing. In a constellation in the sky, of course, each star makes up something greater than themselves. But each star is connected to the constellation itself. The idea of a constellation for me, it does something to my very nervous system. And it does something to me on a much deeper level than the human level, the kind of mind level or the body level. And what we're going to talk about a little bit today is much more on the mind level, which is the use of language. Like as a teacher, I have to use words like spiritual or God or spirit or source or faith or love or soul, and they're really difficult things to explain, and each person understands them in a different way, and yet we all feel those things on a much deeper level. We all feel things. What I find and why I like the idea of this subject is probably because I have so much of a problem with it, and I'm forever stumbling over things. So I give all of the options to the person I'm talking to. So if I'm talking about that huge, unexplainable thing, you can't even call it a thing, then I don't just give the word God, I give spirit, source, the universe, because each person likes to come to the constellation from their own place. Each star in the constellation has its own understanding of life and its own significance, therefore its own importance. The one phrase that I will take to my deathbed is from Jiddu Krishnamurti of separation equals conflict, and I use it in everything I do because it's so true. As soon as we separate things out, well, I call it this, or well, my book has got this God in it and your book has got that God in it, and automatically there's this need for a kind of status, like the famous quote from Gandhi. I'm not going to get it exactly right, something along the lines of, I don't let anyone walk their dirty shoes through my mind. Is it something like that? Walk through my mind with their dirty shoes, or with dirty feet, or something like that. And yet we're all doing that, not deliberately, all of the time, by telling everyone what they should think and what they should feel and how they should express this thing or how we should describe that thing or spiritual. Just the word spiritual, I really don't like it, and yet I have amazing conversations with people who explain their point of view of the word spiritual to me, and I love that. And yet when it comes to my own mouth trying to say that, I'm like, I don't like how I sound when I say spiritual, and then I remember I go back to my mother or my grandmother, and they say, that person's full of spirit. Now they've got lots of spirit, a person of spirit, and I'm like, great, okay, so it's more earth, it's more on the ground, because I have, my personal problem with it is that there is spiritualism that's quite kind of in the air. But in saying that, I'm now walking my dirty shoes through someone's mind. No, because I'm saying, well, I like this, but somebody else likes that, but I'm not right. But are they right? But so we the three of us, we've been talking about this, and we each come from a different place, and we each come from a different background and a different context and a different position. And it's really hard to not walk your dirty shoes through somebody else's life or mind, because we all I think what I like about Krishnamurti's line of separation equals conflict is because, well, why do we need conflict? Why do we need conflict? Why do I need? What does conflict give me? Conflict gives me, well, if I win, it gives me significance. So I'm special because I won the conflict, right? So why do I need significance? Well, I need significance because it makes me feel good because I'm special. I'm a person. I'm Jim. People like me. I'm a good person. I'm looked up to, or oh no, I'm looked down to, or people don't like me, or I'm not. So significance is a really easy game to fall into playing. And in a constellation, each person brings their position and brings their own significance in all kinds of ways, because we're never all on the same page, and we're never all just like, listen, we'll just call it soul and done, yeah? Because there's always going to be some person who will say, but that doesn't feel right, or that doesn't mean anything, or want to put that one out there for a discussion. And what's great is that, of course, this is a discussion between us three, but it's also a discussion between four of us, because it's also you, the person who is listening or watching this, who has their own opinion and their own problems with certain words, or their own problems with talking about this aspect of spiritualism or this aspect of religion or whatever. And it's very easy for us to say, well, yeah, but we're all equal, or we're all the same, or you can get yourself in so many, you can get dragged down so many rabbit holes with this one, and offend someone, mainly because lots of people spend a lot of their time wanting to be offended and looking for things to be offended by, but also it's really easy to just kind of get offended, because we're in a bad mood that day, or we didn't sleep well, or we're tired, or whatever, and we're just looking for a reason to separate ourselves from someone else. So, what do you think about this?
I can follow on that, because I was just thinking that I've always been, even as a child, I was always opposing or challenging authorities, my teachers, people that told me something was like that, and I didn't feel like I couldn't connect to it. So I would always challenge that. And there was always this need for me to experience something myself. So if you told me God is there or a soul is there, I would just, if I didn't feel anything, if I haven't experienced something yet, I could maybe believe in it, that you have that experience. But my path was always a path of embodiment in a way. And that's actually how I found my way to connect to spirit, was through my body. And while you were talking, I just remembered, Jim, because you also said we feel it, we feel something, and how do we then call it? What do we name it? And I then remembered my first real connection, an intimate communication in a way, energetically, that I could feel in my body with source, with God, with soul, was when a good friend of mine, he came into my life, and we immediately started. He he was talking to me about Buddhism, and we talked about the meaning of life, and he gave me this book by Alan Watts, and I read it. And I could feel something in my, it was actually here, my heart center, and also my solar plexus. Something in me was moving. I felt something coming alive when reading those words. And something in me got recognized and seen. And this was actually the beginning of my journey, and it was so physical, and I felt so happy when I was reading it. I never experienced something like that. And after that, I would recommend the book to everyone because for me it did something. But that's again then putting something to, or recommending something for someone else that might not do anything to them. But it was my kind of gateway, or it found me through this friend. And
what book was it?
It was The Taboo Against Knowing Who You Are, or something.
And do you remember if it was explored? I mean, Alan Watts was pretty kind of like Orientalist. Was it like through Zen or Taoism, or just a general philosophical?
I think it was a combination. I think he was but don't quote me on that. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah. And
that's also because it didn't really matter what the tradition was. It was just what his words and how he, like, that's also me. I'm not, for me, it's difficult to, the same with authorities, to kind of put myself into a system or a structure, which I still struggle with now. And sometimes structure is very supportive. But that's also what I like about our constellation, because we kind of come from different backgrounds, but we meet on the same basis or ground, or a common ground. And I love to explore the different perspectives or the different paths coming there, arriving there. So for me, it has always been very physical and felt sense. And during our meditation at the beginning, I was thinking, or it came to me, that actually my way to God was through my body. And when I had this thought, there was this energy rising and coming, like something in me was ignited when I had this thought. So it's very, felt sense to me, and I love exploring that. And that's also why I work with the body, because for me it's very, it's not separate. I mean, it's not separated, and I love to feel things, to know them in a way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. If it's not changing your body and your neurophysiology, it's not happening. You're just thinking, but the transformation really happens in the body.
Yeah.
But going back to the idea of symbols and language, because in the end, language is just symbols. It's a bunch of sounds that point in different directions to places in our minds, right? And I was thinking about like the idea of a constellation, which is a bunch of things that you can see, for example, the three of us, but what unites us into a constellation? What makes us be something that is larger than just the three individuals? In the case of a constellation, it's a symbol. So you see a lion or you see a scorpion, and those things are symbols. They point towards something that transcends the physical object. And interestingly, it's made of something completely abstract. It's just an idea. So there is a word, for example, the name, the Divine Constellation, is two symbols put together that point in a certain direction, which is, okay, there's three bodies here. But we're more than that. There is something that unites us into something larger, and it is divine. So that's really powerful. So something that a personal calling of mine is that my path was more on the mind, although of course in the end it always comes down to the body, because otherwise it's not happening. But it did start on the mind because I was that closed. My mind was really, there was a lot of pride, and my mind needed to be restructured in a way, and that first happened through Dr. Hawkins, who uses a language that is very modern. He barely uses the word God, or it's more like consciousness, the levels of consciousness, letting go. So it's not religious. But after that, when I started to connect with spirit again, and I started to flow again, and my body started to shake and all of that, I felt guided towards the east. and I found Krishna, and I found Advaita Vedanta, and I started to connect, and Taoism, and I started to connect with those symbols because they were so fresh in my eyes. So there was no history attached to them in me. So if I saw an image of Krishna playing his flute, I could feel that joy. There was no judgment, not just negative judgment, but judgment in general. There were no ideas projected onto it. I just saw this beautiful creature right there. And I connected with that. I could feel that joy. And so for a while I explored Eastern symbols, and I connected with all of it, also with Buddhism, and I really enjoyed that. It allowed me to go deeper into the reality to which those symbols point towards. But eventually it became so deep and so intense that one day Jesus Christ just showed up in my heart. And it was that presence with that name. It was an invocation that my teacher in Boston did. And when he called upon that name, poof, there was an explosion. And so suddenly I found myself in communion with Jesus after 10 years of having denied all that tradition. I just left it because, as many Europeans, we just feel the weight of history. There's like this thick layer of history obscuring our symbols. The symbols that are so our egos, our mental structures, they are a result of hundreds of years of culture. And so it goes really deep into our roots. I know that my ancestors have been praying to Jesus for 2,000 years, and that is within me. So that's why I think when I heard that invocation coming from someone who really connected with the reality of it, it was not a dogmatic thing. I heard it coming from that power. It resonated super deep in my being, in all my structure. It was like, whoa, okay. And since then, thanks also to A Course in Miracles, there's been this ongoing restoration or transformation or cleansing of the symbols that I had inherited, and they were opaque. I couldn't see through. They no longer pointed towards a spiritual reality. It was more like a historical idea full of conflict and blood and guilt and all of that, right? And that's what we feel when until those ideas have been renewed. And so now, having done that work of cleansing those symbols, now that's where my heart is. I'm exploring the path of Christian mysticism, but knowing that it's not a dogmatic thing. It's the same reality. It's just that those symbols resonate with his body, with his mind.
Wow.
And those symbols, without symbols, we cannot be connected. There's one, for example, it's not that we cannot be connected. We are connected, we are one. But we cannot be aware of it if we don't get out of our direct perception. So we need symbols to point towards that place where we can recognize our oneness. So in Christianity, for example, every time you call someone brother, you're acknowledging there is a Father, and that we are not brothers in the flesh but in the spirit. So those symbols are really useful to create that constellation.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I remember when I came up with Divine Constellation, and my own, and Katharina as well, and my own like affliction to the word divine, because of its connotation, because of the conditioning. Yeah, and there's so much culture, like you say, Antonio, and there's so much conditioning that separates us from what is really like here and now. I mean, you know, and there are so many kind of religious stories or ideals or precepts that we automatically jump to, or that we like the sound of, like reincarnation. I kind of like the idea of reincarnation. Okay, you know, wonderful. Yeah. But then I get seduced in a way by that story, instead of being really here and now and present with what actually is, which is that, yes, this is a constellation of lots of little things, lots of little pieces of people, but it's all the same thing as well. You know, and it's fascinating how easy it is for the human being to jump to, or for the need to jump to a conclusion about something. Well, this means this. Oh no, I can't use that word because of that. When we don't really question why we have that need to jump to the conclusion in the, you know, forget the conclusion. Why do I need to jump to that conclusion? And when, yeah, and like you say, when, you know, when we allow ourselves to kind of purify from these misconceptions or these ideas or ideals or words or language or codes, there's an automatic feeling for me, definitely, of kind of a unity instead of a separation. You know, instead of it being a constellation of lots of separate people, it's a thing in itself, and it's kind of never ending. Yeah.
That's why I think it's so important to talk to people, to get together and to experience each other, not as just as one, but also as different colors of the same thing. Basically, that's what helps me, is to talk to someone, and even if that person uses a different word. For example, you, Antonio, you talk about Jesus. And if I didn't know you, if I would just read it somewhere, maybe the conditioning would be much louder than actually the curiosity of wanting to find out what's behind that. What does Jesus actually mean for you? And what is your personal journey with that? And so when I talk to you and when I listen to you and when I experience you and your energy, I can just, Jesus is just a word then to me, but I can feel what it means to you. And that's to me much more important, and feeling connected to what you're connected to. And yeah, because I was just thinking that words they help us kind of orient, but they're not a fixed kind of truth. They're just also a symbol that we can use in different ways. But
it's like a map to start off with, isn't it?
Yes, exactly.
We've got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Like I when I practiced Buddhism, I had to start somewhere and learn all about it and learn all the things, and then come to my own conclusions and take parts of that map that I liked and build my own, and reject what didn't feel. Yeah, what I didn't feel was right.
You know, with this teacher of mine who put me in contact with Jesus, he has gone beyond all beliefs and all ideas. So I remember 2 instances where he showed that very clearly. One was a friend of mine in that class. He asked me, "Antonio, are you a Christian?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know, because I do. My life is in the hands of Christ, and I pray to the Holy Spirit, but at the same time I don't go to church, and blah blah." You know, like an explanation. And then Joe, who's the teacher, came into the classroom, and he introduced me to Jesus and the Course in Miracles. So he is really the reality of that, you know, the Christian mystic. And I looked at him and I said, "Joe, are you a Christian?" He looked at me and he said, "No, what I am is neither conceivable nor perceivable." Well, there you go. That's the truth. He got it. He really got it. And then and another time, with another friend who was a Christian, a very devout Christian, he asked Joe about Jesus. And what he said, his response was, "I don't have any beliefs about who Jesus is or what he did. I'm not a Bible guy. I don't have beliefs about it. I just know what I know.
Yeah.
So that's someone using words really well.
Yeah.
Really acknowledging that it's a pointer, but not the thing in itself. And
Yeah.
then you just use it. You say, I invoke the presence of Jesus Christ. And then you drop it and listen. What opens? What resonates when you say that?
Yeah. I think there's so many beliefs and systems and ideas out there, and it's all very, very in the mind, isn't it? I think all of this really points to, mind, body, and spirit, or mind, body, and essence, or whatever you want to. The mind, body, and the other one,
Yes.
And it's modern human life is all geared towards mind, and how useful the mind is, how important the mind is, how important intellect is. But mind really is a finite system or entity or thing. I don't know what the word would be. And it's really fragile, and it's so easy to trigger it because of past history or past things, or like Antonio, like you say, 2,000 years of people practicing a certain form of understanding of Jesus Christ in one's ancestry, all kinds of things, and it's the work is to be really, really so here that you're aware that all of those other things, they're just little words written hanging in the sky in a way. And we kind of grab them and go, oh yeah, right, I'm using these today, or I explain it like this. But there needs to be this allowing of humanity to go deeper, because there's this wish, there's this need in humanity to go deeper, but people don't seem to know quite where to look, do they?
Yeah, that's that's why for me, spirituality in a way is an experiential journey. It's kind of allowing more spirit into my body, or the connection to strengthen. And then I have my own experience, and I don't need words anymore, but I know, as you said, I know what I know. And that's when also, because Christianity, or in general religion, is being used and manipulated, and just bits and pieces taken out and then used for political agendas, as we now see it as well, or as we've always seen it in history, and taking it and using it the way certain people want to, and then not actually seeing just selling part of the story, and not actually having the I don't know where I want to go with this, or how I want to finish the sentence, but maybe you know what I mean. It can be used and manipulated, and when we are not really in connection with it in ourselves, and don't have this experiential self exploration of it, then we can be much more or fall for these kind of stories.
Or that manipulation.
Yes, exactly.
I think there's also an interesting structure to use, a model to use to understand language and everything, really, like what you just described. For example, your body is very experiential, your journey is very experiential in the body. That's because you are building structure. The body is a structure, but what is the content that flows through that structure? Spirit. So as the further you go with that journey of preparing your body, you can hold more light, and it's very true. It is that way. And in the same way, I had heard the word Jesus and so many times before, but until my teacher said it, it was a completely different thing, because it was not the word. The word is just a structure. The thing is, what is the content behind it? I could feel for the first
Vibration.
time the presence through that word.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and wouldn't it be amazing to be able to give someone or other people or a person the space to come to that themselves, like your teacher did with you, where he didn't say, listen, Antonio, it's like this, you have to do this, it's this, and then this, done, okay, and this is the book, you have to follow the book. He was like, here you go, play with that.
Yeah. And actually it was
Yeah.
extremely beautiful, because I asked him, I was in pain, my shoulder was hurting a lot during the postures that we were holding. There was some physical thing that wasn't quite working, and he told me, okay, come to my office. And he sat me down in a chair, he put his hands around my shoulder, and that's when he invoked Jesus. And the reaction energetically, not only my shoulder got immediately better after like some weird shaking like that, but I could feel it in my heart. So it was where it was coming from too. I could feel that his intention was just to help me, just to love me, to heal me with that love, to show me that like a much deeper reality of who I am. It was not about healing my body, it was about healing my soul. And I could feel that in his intention. He was not selling anything.
Yeah.
He was not trying to justify or like push his beliefs onto me so that he may feel right, like I'm right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's. I think that the human has such a huge capacity for violence,
Yeah.
and it gets shown a lot. And violence is really a lack of respect of the other person's being or space or ideas or thoughts or dreams or whatever. And to be able to simply respect, that person's space or being. I'm not quite sure the right word again. No.
Their structure,
It's
like
gonna
what
do
they
both
are.
Yeah, it's going to do
Yeah.
both of you the world of good, isn't it?
Yeah.
But separating things out, divide and conquer, it's genius. It's divide and conquer is the perfect way. Look at the modern world. No, but when you do the opposite of that, when you do the opposite of divide, conquer doesn't mean anything. There is no conquer. Makes no sense. There is no conquer. There's
Joining.
unification, exactly, together. There's togetherness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
Wonderful.
just thinking the opposite of divide is divine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is,
That's
isn't
a
it?
good one.
It's a word play. Yeah. And also what I was thinking when you're saying the violence is the lack of respect for, but it's also the lack of trust and being connected to within oneself to the greater structure, because it's a need to control, to be right, to know where things go, and it's an attempt at that, and things are not the way I want them to, or I feel safe in them, so I'm gonna force things to be the way I think they're right, or they serve me, or they make me feel good. Yeah.
It's like the entire idea of the Divine Constellation is, or was, what if we could build a real circle of trust, like an actual, genuine, and that's really hard, because people have come from all different places and all different ideas and systems and structures and conditionings and and it's difficult but amazing.
There's nothing more worthy of effort than connecting with others in that way.
Yeah.
Of being here together, knowing that we all come from different backgrounds, and instead of feeling threatened by the differences, just acknowledging it as the beauty of a unique expression. Like just holding the other, like, wow, look at that flower.
And seeing those differences and the words and the as maybe just the the top of the flower that we see above ground, but knowing that all of the roots are connected by the mycelium.
Yeah. It's the same life.
Completely underneath. It's the same thing. It's all the same thing. Yeah, it's the same thing. So, yeah, everyone needs to be able to convey something or express something in their own way. But if we look down under, if we lift up the carpet and look underneath, it's all the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm. Fantastic. Okay, I think we'll leave it there. Thank you so much.
Perfect.
If you've enjoyed listening to this, please feel free to share it with one person that you feel would benefit from hearing it. And yeah, it's a real privilege for us to be able to open this space. So thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you both as well.
Beautiful exploration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Namaste.